next up, we are going to welcome on stage Filipe Joel de Almedia, Corporate Security and Business Resilience Manager at Rangel Logistics Solutions and Regional Lead for TAPA EMEA, and Lieutenant Ruben Sanz Lopez from the Central Criminal Intelligence Unit of Guardia Civil, as we look at cargo security risks in Spain and Portugal. Whilst cargo crime data for Portugal remains hard to quantify, cargo thefts in Spain are undoubtedly rising. Since the start of 2024, the TAPA EMEA intelligence system, TIS, has received reports of over 1,140 cargo thefts across the country, mostly road-based incidents. Collectively, recorded cargo crimes in Spain and Portugal last year produced a total loss value of over 34.5 million euros for the 35%, or 405 reports sharing financial data. So let's find out more from these two local experts. Please welcome Ruben and Filipe to the stage.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, everybody. For those that know me for some time, I've been a long-term TAPA member, recently became more active, started as a volunteer with the standards, and now accepted to take the regional lead for Portugal and Spain, Africa. And here we are today to talk about these two regions. But first, I would like to state some facts and do a little point. Supply chain is a chain, so it breaks by its weakest link. If you're here today in this conference, you either work in, for, or with a company or organization connected to a supply chain. And usually, as we usually say, for a hammer, every problem is a nail. We all that are here, we know that TAPA is the industry association for supply chain security, of course. We know that the TAPA standards are the baseline for any security infrastructure, for any framework. But the fact is, we know it. Most people don't. And in these regions in particular, despite what Sam already mentioned, we have almost 35 million stolen, 35 million euros in stolen items in Spain and Portugal from what's reported. Portugal, we have barely any report being made, and in Spain, we are aware, Ruben will get into more details about the modus operandi and how it is done, but we are aware that we only have a fraction of what's being reported. Because of this, because we are aware that we have a very small footprint, very low amount of members in Portugal and Spain, TAPA has decided to create a regional team. And this regional team has been working together with the industry to promote and to take the standards and take the association to the members. So what have we been doing so far? First of all, we created the team. It's called Los Taperos. So for those who know Spain, it's known for the tapas. We are from TAPA, so we are Los Taperos. And this team, I cannot stop to emphasize, like Marcos said yesterday, I'm the bus driver. Okay, I'm driving the bus, I'm giving my face. But we have here, right in front, and I will ask for them to get up, we have Carmen, we have Carles, and we have Begoña. Get up, come on for the applause. They are doing the work. This is the team that's doing the work. Because in Spain and in Portugal, there are cultural limits. I'll talk about that in a second. So we created partnership with associations. We are few. We have a small part of the issue, it's that TAPA is not known. So we are few members. In order to get out there, we created partnerships with the National Security Managers Associations, both in Portugal and Spain. We have the president of the Portuguese and the vice president of the Portuguese Association here, with ICOC industry associations, and with CPCM, the Criminologists Professional College from Madrid. That's been doing an amazing work, and I'll talk about that in a second. We started participating in exhibitions, in conferences, going out there, start to talk about TAPA, talk about the standards, going to booths, trying to explain what we are all about, trying to explain to people that there is already an industry association that has the answers for most of the major problems. And we started promoting the TAPA standards across the network of our contacts in the industry. Work being done by this team. There was a huge work led by Bologna, with the Criminologist Professional College of Madrid. It has just been published an in-depth report of cargo crime, how it has evolved over the last years, with analysis not only from the last mile, but all the process, modus operandi, how the behavioral. It's been done by the university. We're going to the young people that are studying not only logistics, but also criminology, and getting them to know TAPA, getting them to know to visit the sites, to visit audits, and to understand and spread the word when they go to work, spread the word that there is this association, that there are these standards that can be used to reduce crime. We did an amazing work, thank you Carmen on that part for leading, and the translations of the standards and for the trainings into Spanish and into Portuguese, because this is one of the major issues. In these countries, particularly in Spain, the language is a huge barrier. Most people are not fluent, and even culturally there is a resistance. If something comes to us, either you write it in Spanish, if you really want us to read, otherwise, if it's in English, they just go to spam. This work has allowed us to get the standards out there, to get people to actually start reading them. And I'm happy to announce we already have scheduled one regional conference to be held in Madrid in the 9th of October, co-organized with ATSI and with Guardia Civil in the Guardia Civil headquarters, in order to promote and to inform all the associations about TAPA and about our standards. And I'm also happy to announce we are already preparing, it's not fully confirmed, but we are preparing another conference on the 29th of October, co-organized also with the National Security Managers Association, to take TAPA to the National Security Managers and to get the word out there. Next steps that we are planning, as I say, there is a considerable cultural resistance, in particular towards a foreign association. We need to enforce, we need to get them to know, and there's only one way. If we start passing the requirements throughout the supply chains. As I said before, a supply chain breaks in the weakest link, but it also, with all of the links together, that we can help promote. So it depends on all of us to get out to more stakeholders, to reach other companies that work in Spain, that work directly or indirectly in these markets, so that they understand that the standards exist and they need to be applied. So the only way is to effectively push the standards adoptions by enforcing the requirements. But this cannot be done by one or two or three. I would like to quote good old Uncle Sam. Basically, we need you. We need all of the members that directly or indirectly have contacts with Spanish, Portuguese companies that have business connections to start in their tenders, when they go to the market, to make sure they either directly or indirectly reflect the requirement to have TAPA standards. That's the only way we can effectively push. We can get more companies to understand what this association is, and more than that, what the standards are, and that they are effectively the baseline for all our work. Thank you for your time, and now I'll pass the word for my colleague to present cargo crime in Spain.
Thank you very much, Filipe. Okay, so first of all, good afternoon. I'm the Lieutenant Ruben. For me, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. And thank you very much for the invitation. And, well, I don't have a lot of time, but I will try to explain a little bit what is the experience of Guardia Civil on cargo crime and the different modus operandi, okay? So first of all, you need to know that there are two different styles of crimes. First one is common crime, and they use the advantage of the carelessness of the driver, of the carrier, and they usually do this on the upload and on the download. There is usually not organized crime here, and the second part is the organized criminal groups, the serial organized criminal groups. In this modus operandi, they usually commit thefts in parkings, and assaults on the road in movement. I will explain with more details all of this in the next slides, but you have to keep in mind that it doesn't matter if it's common crime or organized criminal groups, that for all of them, they get a profit on all of this, and it is a lifestyle, okay? So, well, this is how a common citizen sees a truck and how a criminal sees a truck. As Jens told before, the criminal wants nothing, the criminal follows nothing, the criminal follows the money. And you need to know it, you need to be aware. And it's work of all of us to prevent these crimes, and it's our job to later on investigate with Europol and with the other member states this criminality. Okay, and the different modus operandi, as I told before, the common criminal, they usually commit thefts, taking advantage of the carelessness of the driver. And how can we prevent this? Well, I really know that all of you are completely aware that we have a problem, that it is increasing the problem, that we need to fight against this problem. But perhaps the driver, the carrier, that is doing exactly the same work during 20, 30 years, for them, they can say, oh, I have been working in this job for 10 years and never happens anything to me. I have been doing this route for 10 years, no happens anything until it happens. So you need to keep aware the drivers. You need to organize trainings to translate, to give all of this information to the drivers too, not only for you. And this is very important. The second modus operandi, I will explain a little bit better this one, because this is the most common one of the modus operandi, is the robbery. And they used to manipulate the locks of the truck, and later on they get inside the truck and they take off all of the cargo to another vehicle. I will explain it better. Okay, and all of these modus operandi, all of these no, but most of them are committed on parkings, on rest areas. So it is very important to choose the correct parking. When you are planning the different routes of the trucks, you need to choose a parking with security cameras, with surveillance, and you need to analyze it. Another modus operandi, the tearing of tarpaulins. In Spain, we call it loneros. They tear the tarpaulin, and later on, they take all of the cargo into another car. It is, again, on parkings. And police full. This modus operandi is very common too. In this modus operandi, the criminals disguise themselves as police officers. They show to the driver fake documentation, of course, of a police, so the driver stops on the road, and while they are requesting some documentation to the driver, another criminals of the criminal group tries to manipulate the lock and take off steal all of the cargo, the merchandising. And surferos. This modus operandi nowadays is not very common, at least in Spain. I don't know if in other countries, perhaps Europe will have more information than me. But it was very common a few years ago. This is committed always by organized criminal groups, and is always robberies in movement. A truck is on the road, circulating on the road, and later on, one car puts in front of him, decrease the speed, so the consequence is that the truck needs to reduce the speed too. And at that moment, another car goes next to the truck at the left, so now the truck is not able to turn to the left, and another car with the lights off puts behind of the truck. At that moment, one person that is in the car that is behind of the truck goes out of the car to the top of the car, continuing of movement, and jumps into the truck, manipulate the lock, and take all the merchandising into the car, throwing it. It's very dangerous. It requires a lot of specialization of the criminal group, and now we are not detecting too many cases. One case perhaps per year, more or less, not too many, but you need to know too this modus operandi. Okay, but the most common modus operandi is this one. At a parking, first of all, the group is around 4 or 8 male members with a hierarchical structure. And first of all, a car goes to the parking, to the rest area, analyze the security measures, the cameras, the surveillance. And after that, a second vehicle suitable for reading merchandising, a big vehicle, comes. Normally they use fake license plates because sometimes that vehicle is already stolen. And if they want to steal a lot of merchandising, perhaps it's not coming only one car, it's coming 2 cars. And later on, the first car, the people that was inside of the first car, tries to manipulate the different locks and to steal the merchandising. Once the merchandising is already stolen, they get into the vehicle and they take the vehicle out of the outskirts of the city in order to do the arrangements for selling that merchandising. Okay? Collaboration with Europol. Nowadays, it is necessary for all of us. If we want, as Jens told before, if we want to dismantle all the criminal group, not only the offender that commit that crime, but also the people that is at the top of the hierarchical structure thinking about what to do, we need Europol. They provide us a lot of information. They give us a lot of support in all of the investigations. And of course, Europol, and we cooperate too a lot with another member states, another law enforcement. And about what material do they usually steal? As you can see, there is a wide range of variety that they usually steal. So all of you could be an objective of this kind of criminal activity. So you need to be aware of that. The number of cases, 2023, this year is increasing a lot. And as you can see, the most part of Spain has been affected about these crimes. And of course, Madrid is the one that has more cases because it's the capital city of Spain. About the number of investigations, for the Guardia Civil, cargo crime is a priority. We investigate, we develop a lot of operations. And for example, in Madrid, only in 1 year, in 2022, 8 operations. And there are some cities like, for example, Valencia, Toledo, with 3 operations. This is a lot in 1 year for one part of Spain. And for example, in 2023, more or less, Madrid decreased a little bit, but for example, Valencia and Toledo increased the number of operations. And I can tell you that this is not very common. One criminal activity, a lot of operations in 1 year. And about the nationalities, we detected that all of the criminals that we arrested or we are able to identify, most of them are Spanish. The 97% of them are Spanish here in Spain. And there are other nationalities, but most of them Spanish. About different investigations that we developed on 2022, for example, Operation Horn. It was in La Rioja, in a part of Spain that is on the north. And the modus operandi was the tier of TAPA EMEAs, and it finished with 8 people arrested and 25 thefts solved, all of them Spanish. And the second one, Operation Techstar. In this one, it was in Toledo, and the modus operandi was that the manipulation of the lock, and it finished with 8 arrests. And on 2023, we can underline 2 different investigations. The first one, Operation Cladis. This one is a little bit special because the criminal used jammers. The modus operandi was that the driver tried to close with the button, pressing the button, the truck. He really thought that the truck was already closed, but it was not closed because the criminal they were using the jammers, so the signal didn't arrive to the car. And we arrested 6 people here, and we solved 10 cargo crimes. And the Operation Gato con Botas, that it was developed in Madrid and Toledo. The modus operandi was a mix between tarpaulin and forcing manipulating the lock, and it finished with 7 arrested people. As you can see, only in one operation, this criminal group stole around 500,000 euros, sorry. And again, for us, it's a priority to establish new relationships, to collaborate, to cooperate with TAPA, with Europol, and it's the only way, like told Filipe, to fight against this criminal activity. And the best practices, of course, first of all, you need to choose the correct parking. It's very, very, very important. And as you can see, you need to know what are the security measures, the surveillance, and you need to know if there is good lighting, you need to know if there are some trees next there, some walls, if you have the possibility to park in a way that the rear of the truck doesn't allow the door to be opened perfect, and well, and of course, it is very recommended to plan not only the route, but also the places where you are going to park. It is very important. So please, and be very careful with the information, with the disinformation, the routes, the places where you have to go slowly with the truck, because this is confidential, and it can, the criminal groups, they always have people inside the different companies, and you have to be very careful. And trainings and coaching the drivers, this is very important. You need to keep aware there. This is a work that I know that requires a lot of time, but you need to do it 1 per year or per 2 years, but trainings, you have to, it's very important. And as told Filipe, please notify us the cases, because it's the only way that allows us to investigate and to create an operation to dismantle a criminal group. It's the only way. If we don't know that one crime was committed, we are not able to investigate it. So how to notify us? As all the information that you have, please tell us. We are going to do our job, but we need to have the information. Where, when, how, the modus operandi, all the information that you have. And, well, that's all. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you.
Ruben and Filipe, thank you both so much for those presentations. We've got a couple of minutes. I can just ask you a couple of questions. Ruben, let me start with you. You were just touching on best practices there. How important is it to follow best practices in minimizing the risk of cargo theft?
Well, it is really important because I think that is a way very easy to decrease this criminal activity because you don't need a big investment and most times is the aware that drivers are not very aware. So I think that with this best practice is going to decrease the criminal activity.
And what role does international collaboration play, especially with Europol, in combating cargo crimes in Spain?
Well, we need to keep in mind that transnational criminal groups are growing year by year. So the only way to beat these transnational groups, to break all the different barriers of the countries, is with the cooperation, international cooperation.
Filipe, how can companies without direct operations in Spain and Portugal actively contribute to raising awareness and enforcing the TAPA standards in this region?
Well, as I said, we need to enforce down the supply chain and the requirements. Today, we live in a world that's even more connected. And the whole world, it's a whole web of subcontracting, of relations. So even if you don't have a direct connection supplier in Spain, if you enforce it, it will eventually get there. It's a domino effect. So our shout out to the community, it's this one. Start putting in all your tenders the requirements, either for certification or at least compliance. Get the word out there, because that will help us in the regional teams when we approach associations, that they are aware and that companies are actually starting to implement those measures.
And Ruben, finally, if you had to highlight some of the most important best practices recommended for drivers and transportation companies to minimize the risk of cargo theft, what would they be?
I choose only two. Remember, only two. The first one, notify us all of the information that you have. Notify us, the law enforcement, all the cases that you have. And the second one, please, plan your routes. Plan your routes, but planning your routes with the stop, with the parkings, with every problem that you could have, you have to plan it very carefully.
Fantastic. Ruben and Filipe, thank you both so much again for joining us. Thank you.